Good morning and good afternoon to some. Thank you for joining us. Consider this our space. Welcome to the Breaking Free from Nicotine Liberation Summit. We're happy that you've chosen to be here with us today, and together we will reimagine how nicotine use is addressed in African American communities. So my name is Yolande Burris, and I'm the program manager for Amplify, the African American Statewide Coordinating Center in California, and I'll be your host. This summit was brought to you by Amplify California, and we were established in 2018 through the California Tobacco Prevention Program and are funded through Proposition 56, the Cigarette Tax Initiative. We provide tailored support to community-based organizations throughout the entire state, and we work within their respective communities to eliminate the burden of tobacco. And yes, we love Black people who smoke. We don't want to vilify them for smoking, but instead approach them with compassion and understanding. We want them to be set free, living a life free from addiction of nicotine. And with our work, we strive to foster a legacy of physical, mental, and spiritual wellness. So, what exactly does Amplify do as a statewide coordinating center? And how can we help you build capacity within your organizations and projects? So for the past 7 years, we have increased coordination and connections between coalitions, advocates, competitive grantees, policymakers, and community-based organizations by facilitating the exchange of resources and mutual support through brokered resources, providing leadership and advocacy training and support. Our tailored support is pretty vast and ever expanding over the past 7 years to meet the needs of serving our community. We provide tobacco prevention navigation for smaller projects, moral support, cessation support for our community and professionals, proven community engagement activities and events, capacity building, and a robust leadership development program, and culturally relevant trainings, workshops, and webinars such as these. Please take a moment to visit our website. You'll find various resources at www.amplify.love, and you'll also have an opportunity to sign up for our newsletter. So, Summit Housekeeping, setting the atmosphere of our space. You've entered a space that doesn't tell you what to do, but instead, we invite you to listen and maybe even begin again. It's not a training in a traditional sense, but rather a gathering on nicotine liberation. It's a different type of conversation, and it's rooted in innovation, equity, and possibility. A quote from our keynote, Dr. Karen Beard. And as Dr. Beard states, it's for those of us who are open to rethinking the language, frameworks, and strategies we use to address nicotine and how those choices impact the priority populations that we all serve. Summit Housekeeping. Our summit will be recorded and our resources will be available for download within 48 hours. The chat question and answer box are open, and we will do our best to answer as many questions as possible. But we also invite you to stay for a 15-minute afterflow session that will answer questions that we perhaps didn't answer, and the afterflow session will also be recorded for you. And lastly, for our grounding reflection comments, we will be using a platform called Padlet.com. Completely optional, but if you would like to participate, the link will be in the chat. So within our time together, our learning objectives are the following. You'll understand why traditional quit programs have often fallen short for African American communities. You recognize how disinformation, internalized tobacco messaging, and African American attitudes toward flavor bans has shaped nicotine use. We'll also explore how culturally grounded tools like music, metaphor, and trusted messaging fosters trust and encourages participation. Lastly, we hope that you'll be inspired to rethink nicotine interventions and envision what true nicotine liberation can look like. So we have 3 hours together, but as you know, time passes quickly when you're engaged and you're having a good time, right? So very shortly, we'll go into our first grounding reflection, followed by our keynote, Breaking Free program creator, Dr. Karen Beard, discussing nicotine liberation. From there, we'll then reflect on the concept of nicotine liberation for our communities. Voices of Liberation goes into highlighting testimonials from Lachelle Uli and Lori Marion, who are navigating liberation from nicotine. At 10:45, we'll take a 15-minute break. We reconvene with Liberation in Action, a live intake session facilitated by AATCLC's DC representative, Charles Debnam. And if time permits, we will have a space to answer your questions and hear your comments. We'll close with our nicotine liberation call to action with Amplify's program director and AATCLC co-chair, Carol Magruder. And in case you have more questions or comments, Dr. Beard, Charles Debman, and Carol Magruder will have the 15-minute afterflow session immediately following. Our summit presenters, Dr. Karen Beard, Breaking Free Day creator and Amplify Cessation Resource Specialist. Charles Debnan, AATCLC, African American Tobacco Leadership Council's DC representative, and Carol Magruder, Amplify's program director and AATCLC co-chair. And I'd like to introduce our Breaking Free Summit team. They will be working on the background, moderating the chat, and working on our tech. Samila Larkin, Amplify's intern. Dr. Vaughn Simmons, Breaking Free from Nicotine Community Engagement Specialist. Sharice Shields, Breaking Free from Nicotine editor. And Camille Cummings, AATCLC program manager. And I personally like to say thank you and go team. So our first grounding question was sent in our Zoom webinar reminders yesterday and this morning. What are you curious about when it comes to nicotine liberation? And I'll give you a moment to think about that. We're including a link for Padlet in the chat. And if you click on the link, it will take you to a platform where we can view your comments. What are you curious about when it comes to nicotine liberation? All right, there's our Padlet board.
It looks like we have a hand raised as well, Angeline.
What actually works for individuals? And Angeline, you're welcome to come off of mute. Lashante, in environments where smoking is highly normalized, like many behavioral health or social service settings, how can peer specialists most effectively model and inspire the hope of nicotine liberation without creating a judgmental us versus them dynamic with their peers and clients? Mm, that's good. Dr. Vaughn, what about our chat?
I
Hi.
don't, oh, Angeline is off of mute, and then we'll come back to the chat after she
Great.
mentions her question.
Yes. So I'm the intern for Action on Smoking and Health. And I was wondering why call it nicotine liberation? I have heard the word cessation. So I was wondering if calling it that way or the framing really matters when we talk about cessation and nicotine liberation.
Wonderful. We're going to answer that question for you this morning.
Also in the chat, Donna says prevent future generations of nicotine users. I think it's important.
Yes. Brilliant capybara, how to actually be free. The fancy jaguar, how being liberated from nicotine can be sustained. Yes. Tracy asks what work is being done to also support smoke-free environments along with cessation. Would anyone else like to comment? Would anyone else like to come off of mute with a comment? Thank you for those who participated. It really sets the tone. So we understand that this is a new concept. It's a new construct to many. And at this time, I'd like to introduce our keynote. Dr. Karen Beard is an experienced tobacco treatment specialist. She is fiercely committed to researching and developing holistic interventions that are effective in not only empowering smokers to become ex-smokers, but empowering them to change their financial and social status in life. She's received a Bachelor's of Science degree in mental health counseling from Gannon University in Erie, Pennsylvania, a master's degree in rehabilitation counseling from the University of Southern Florida in Tampa, and a Doctor of Education degree in counseling psychology from Argosy University. In a career that spans over 30 years, she is an independent contractor providing case management and counseling services on behalf of the Federal Department of Labor, Department of Veterans Affairs, and state worker compensation programs. Dr. Beard was also a vocational expert for Social Security Administration. Her research interests include tobacco policy and cessation implementation. She is an African American Tobacco Control Council Leadership Board member and the Tobacco Cessation Resource Specialist for Amplify. Dr. Beard also serves as a tobacco treatment expert for the California Black Women's Health Project. She supports and is a program advocate for the Truth Initiative and National African American Tobacco Prevention Network, NAPTN. Dr. Karen Beard. Dr. Beard, you're on mute.
It looks like you're still on mute.
Okay, there we go. So, all right, sorry about that. But good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to see you here in the space with us today to talk about something that's really passionate in my life. Yolande has shared a little bit about my professional background and how I came to do this work. But I would also like you to know, excuse me, that I'm in this space not just because of my background, my educational background, but my husband was a person who smokes, and he started smoking Newport cigarettes at age 15. He smoked until age, I think it was 54 when he died after having lung cancer 3 times and continued to smoke. He had half of one lung removed, continued to smoke. A third of the other continued to smoke. I never understood that, why he would continue to smoke after having such, major surgeries. And his last surgery, which was November 25th, 2014, um, he survived the surgery, but he just didn't have enough lung left to survive and have quality of life. And so Larry died on November 25th, 2014. Now, I accept the reality that he chose to smoke. He started at age 15 and he was influenced by, marketing, tobacco marketing, peers. And so, I get it. He started on his own. However, as we all know, the tobacco industry markets heavily to African Americans. And so they influence our young people when they don't have the wherewithal to make good decisions. And so I got mad about that. I was really mad. And so I decided, what to do, what I could do with what I have from where I am. And so after Larry's death, I went to Florida State University and became a certified tobacco treatment specialist. That was in 2014, and I've been doing this work ever since. Um, I love this work because as a question was asked earlier about our future, young people, our future generations of African Americans. And if we don't do something about this now, if we don't do what we can, take advantage of the opportunities, we're going to lose generations of Black folks. And I don't know about you, but I'm not here to do that. I'm not here to see that. So I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that that doesn't happen, that we do end the game for tobacco, uh, the tobacco game. And so this morning, I want to start a conversation with you about nicotine liberation. And so I will be talking about moving beyond traditional cessation and why. I will talk about nicotine liberation and what it is. And then I'll talk about the Free and Proud Nicotine Liberation Framework, our philosophy, principles, practices, and the theoretical underpinnings. I'll also share with you some of the culturally responsive tools that we use. And I'll talk about let's see. Sorry, my slides seem to be. And then we'll have what I call nicotine liberation in action. You'll get an opportunity to see Charles Denham and a person that he's working with give um, he would demonstrate how we do it. So, moving beyond traditional cessation. again, after I practiced in the field for a while, I've been doing it since 2014. I came to realize that, cessation is uh, traditional cessation interventions are good, but they don't go far enough when we are talking about African Americans. Um, the research shows that we've been doing this work for quite a while, and yet the tobacco related disparities and inequities persist in the African American population. And the other thing about tobacco cessation interventions is that they do not consider the lived experiences or the social determinants that affect how African Americans can move from being a person who smoke to persons who do not smoke. And if you notice, I don't use the word smoker. I don't believe in labeling people. I use person-centered language that comes out of my rehabilitation background. That's one of my soapboxes, is that I'd like us to start referring to uh, people, well, people who smoke, people who use nicotine as people who smoke, because my belief is that uh, uh, re, that to become a person who does not smoke, uh, the language can affect how that person views themselves. And if we constantly say a person who does not smoke, we're separating the behavior from the person, and that's where cessation starts. Okay. So we talk a lot about social determinants of health. Most people probably on this call understand what they are, but there are the conditions of life, including housing, education, employment. And we talk about social determinants of health in terms of how they affect, well, health, and also lead to people who lead people to use nicotine. But what we don't talk about as much is the social determinants of harm. Now, those determinants are things like the laws and the policies that protect the industry, the tobacco industry's profits, instead of protecting communities. Social determinant of harm is also the chronic stressors due to poverty, unsafe neighborhoods, and other conditions. Now, when I say poverty, I'm not just thinking about poverty in terms of money and economics. There's such a thing as called poverty of spirit. Most people who smoke will tell you, well, like I hear Dr. Beard, I'm stressed. So we have people who are living in conditions where, in addition to income, they may be experiencing poverty of spirit. So we need to address that as well. And then harmful environments and products that are disproportionately placed in our neighborhoods, and targeted manipulation, menthol advertising tied to Black identity and pride. So those are the social determinants of harm. And there's also the social determinants of wealth. When we allow tobacco retailers to uh, just, exploit our communities, when we allow the tobacco industry to hijack our culture and tell us that we need uh, tobacco or nicotine to feel good about ourselves, and they extract the wealth from our communities, that causes people to stay trapped in the maze of survival and using coping mechanisms like nicotine. So extraction of wealth, cigarettes can cost anywhere up to $20, and our people are paying that. Just think about that. Think about what could be done with that money. And then the other thing about social determinants of wealth, if you look at our communities, in addition to the tobacco retailers, and I'm not trying to go hard on tobacco retailers. I'm just telling you how it is. We have what you call those things, payday loans, places where they extract wealth from the people. So when you think about African Americans wanting to become someone who doesn't smoke, we have social determinants of harm and wealth that can delay or prevent that from happening. And let's not forget we have political determinants of health, policies, uh, politics, and governance. And so all these things come together like a perfect storm to prevent African American, and it prevents African Americans from being able to give up nicotine. And so for the question, sometimes the question becomes, why do African Americans continue to smoke? And I sometimes, if depending on where I am in my mind that day, if it's a good day, I can be politically correct, but sometimes I can't. And so I just say, well, why do we continue to use interventions that don't work? Um, and then I hear that African American population is hard to reach. Well, what if the way we attempt to reach African Americans does not resonate with them? So anyway, I don't look at the people who smoke and think that they are the problem. I look at the situation and I say, am I doing my best? Am I doing what's effective, before I blame the people? And so I believe we must move beyond cessation because research shows that, well, first of all, I want you to know that I'm not against cessation. I'm not saying that we shouldn't continue to focus on cessation. My point to you is that cessation is not what African Americans who smoke need. Those African Americans, or any of us who are in survival mode, um, cessation, simply stopping the behavior, is not going to solve the problem. So, what I'm suggesting when I talk about nicotine liberation is that we expand, we move beyond it. We have a different solution for what we see. And I see people who smoke who say they're in stress, they're in survival mode. They get up every day, they're trying to just, meet that grind, get through the day. And so, again, just stopping the behavior is not going to help them. They can stop, but they can't remain stopped. Why? Because the grind continues. And so I believe that we need to move beyond focusing on the behavior and focus on um, identity, changing who they think they are or who they believe they are, help them to come to a place where they see that tobacco or nicotine doesn't have to define them. So I believe that we move beyond traditional cessation by engaging the heart, the head, and the hands. A lot of times with cessation, we want to move in. We give people a fire hose of information in a 6 to 8 week class, and we expect them to leave that class and be able to integrate that information into their lives, but they can't. I call that the IKEA effect. Um, if you know anything about IKEA furniture, you go there and you buy that furniture and you go home and you have to put it together. And if you like me, you can't put it together. So what you do, you put it back in the box and you take it back to the store. Well, it's the same thing when we give people all this information and we're telling them just to go home and, we expect after the class they can integrate that into their lives and make a change in their lives. We're doing them a disservice. So if behavior change alone can't sustain freedom from nicotine, what can? Well, Andre Lord said, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. Now, the way I interpret that for the work that I do is that the master is evidence based research. All of our interventions are based on evidence based research. I have nothing against it, but I also know that a lot of time African Americans are not included in that research. And if they are, sometimes, but by the time the research trickles down to, practice, could be years. And so as I thought about this and did this work, I said, well, I think we need to come up with a different way to serve African Americans, and it led me to nicotine liberation. So when you think about, or when I talk about the free and proud nicotine liberation framework, um, how it's different from what we're seeing or we've been using is that, cessation is about the individual. Nicotine liberation is about the community. It's a collective community driven approach to creating culturally responsive interventions. It also addresses the determinants that create and sustain nicotine use. And liberation is the process of freeing not only oneself, but the community from the systems, the beliefs, the conditions that sustain nicotine use. Sometimes, when I see the different things that we do, uh, we say that nicotine use is a chronic relapsing condition. But in my opinion, we treat it like an acute uh, condition, meaning we put people in a class for 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and then we think, okay, uh, they're healed. That they'll get it and they'll go off and have a happy life. It's like having a headache. You take an aspirin and then the headache is gone, but it doesn't work like that. And so when I talk about liberation, I'm not just talking about liberation for the people that we work with. We need to liberate our minds from relying on things that don't work. So the liberation, in my opinion, first starts with us, those of us who are doing this work. And so, nicotine liberation, how we define it, is the process of helping individuals and communities free themselves from nicotine use, the commercial exploitation, and manipulation behind it. It's about reclaiming autonomy, the right to make your own decisions, health, and cultural power by challenging the forces that profit from harm. I say this a lot, I believe it, that we are overlooking um, a great uh, class of people who could help us in this fight um, to end the tobacco's game, and that's people who smoke. If we look at it, they have skin in the game, and if we were to, in this nicotine liberation, join them into what we're trying to do, then I think we would have a stronger network. Let me see if I, yeah. So going back to the definition, that's why I include community. It's not just about the individual, because even if the individual changes and we put them back into a community that does not support their change or their transformation, what good is it? What have we done? So it takes both individual, our focusing on individuals and communities as well. And again, I think it starts with us. Liberate our minds from doing this work the way we've always done it, because we're not getting the results that we need. And you know what they say about continuing, just saying, it's crazy to continue doing this work in the same way and not getting the results that we want for our people. So I see my role and I see your role. I hope you agree with me. Um, I don't want to stop people just stop people from using the product. I want to help them remember who they were before they let nicotine define them, before they had the cravings, before they started coughing, before they became dependent. I want to teach them how to refuse to participate in their exploitation. When I hear a Black person tell me, "Oh, Dr. Beard, I have the right to buy menthols, cigarettes. It's my right." I'm thinking, well, you're doing suicide on the installment plan, and you're paying to do it because eventually it will catch up with you. So my point is not to judge that person, but I think we have to admit that our people are drinking the Kool-Aid. And so I see my job as to show them how to stop participating in their exploitation, see the tobacco industry for what it is, and refuse to accept the lie that in order to feel good, to be happy with myself, I got to use your product. And lastly, I see my role as helping them reclaim their identity, to imagine who they could be without nicotine and become that. Because in terms of helping people transition from being a person who smoke to one who doesn't, um, one of the key things we have to do is show them a new story to be in. And they have a story that has been working for them. Professionals, we see smoking as a problem. They see it as a solution. So I come to you and I'm asking you to give up your solution, and I don't have anything better to offer you. So, uh, part of getting people to the place where they are willing to take a chance, and I say take a chance because anytime when they give up, when they stop smoking, we have to understand that they lose part of their identity. And so what do we can't leave a void. So what are we going to help them put back into that place, that void? So I think my role is to remember, uh, help them refuse and help them reclaim their identity. So the free and proud nicotine liberation framework is inspired by multiple evidence-based, liberation-centered, and healing-oriented models that's designed to transform identity, restore dignity, community, and reduce disparities. And so what I mean by that is the liberation health model. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's been around for many, many years, and it comes out of the School of Social Work. And what that model says is that human behavior should be conceptualized in terms of not just personal, but economic, political, cultural, and historical conditions. That's why I love it, because it's looking at the whole person and not just the behavior of the person. So this liberation health model, I think they refer to it as socio-political, but it fits right into our framework of liberation. We understand that it's not just what the people do, it's what's being done to the people. And so the method of practice that the liberation health model suggests, again, is that we look at personal, cultural, and institutional factors. And we understand it's not just about the behavior, but we want to liberate the people from internal as well as external oppressions. And if you care to look them up, I have included the um, URL for their website, Boston Liberation Health. There's plenty information there on the Liberation Health model. The other model or theory that underpins the nicotine liberation framework is what's called the identity based motivation theory. Now, what that theory says is that people will act uh, in ways, they prefer to act in ways that fit the identity that's important to them, and that includes racial, ethnic, gender, and social class based identities. So if we want to um, help people give up, um, using nicotine, we have to first show them or help them to imagine what they will be like when they no longer use the product. They have to have, again, a story to be in. And so this theory says that if we help them find an identity that's important to them, because we have multiple identities, but if we can identify an identity that's important to them, or help them create an identity that becomes important to them, that they're more willing to make a change. And what I like about this theory is that it moves us from just looking at the behavior to looking at the psychological concept that emphasizes, how our sense of self influences our action. For instance, people say, I smoke because I'm stressed. Now, we all have stress, but we don't all smoke. Why? Because that's not who we are. We don't see ourselves as people who smoke. And so that's the whole idea around, rather than focusing just on behavior, we have to look at who that person is being. We have to look at identity. Um, I'm sorry. Okay, so again, and I want to make the distinction when we talk about dependency, we're talking about nicotine dependency. I'm talking about uh, the biological or the physiological um, impact that nicotine has on a person. But when I talk about psychological reliance, people get conditioned to rely on nicotine to do certain things for them, give them relief. If I'm tired, it picks me up. If I'm stressed, it gives me relief. And so I believe that long after, say, the biological challenges are gone, it's those psychological challenges um, that keeps a person trapped in a lifestyle. And let's see, the healing centered engagement is a theory, is another one of the uh, theoretical underpinnings that support nicotine liberation. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but first we talked about trauma-informed care, and just in a nutshell, that says what happened to you. Healing-centered engagement talks about pretty much like, what do you want to do now? It's asset-based. It doesn't look at what's wrong. It looks at what's right, what's working, and focuses on well-being rather than the symptoms. And I believe that's important when you're working with people, African Americans smoke, because we are, challenged by survival coping. So what we have to do is give people hope. We can't just give them a patch. We have to give them hope so that, we're taking care of the whole person. And I don't know why my slides are doing that. So the principles under healing centered engagement, just so you know, are culture, agency, relationships, meaning, and aspiration. And these are all the things that I believe when I talk about, the heart. These are the things that I'm talking about. We have to tap into what's meaningful to people. We have to use culture as medicine and teach them the agency that you can do this. You have the power to do this. And I see nicotine liberation. It's more about relationships than what you have to give up. So our philosophy is, and I probably need to go really quick. Healing and liberation are inseparable. We believe that identity transformation sustains the nicotine free lifestyle. And we believe that healing takes place in communities. So when we work with people who smoke, uh, even we're in a group setting, and I purposely designed it that way because that's the first setting where you can now start to build out a new uh, community for the person who's going to give up nicotine and may be concerned that they're going to lose friends, family, or whatever. So now they have a new community that they can thrive in. And I believe, or in nicotine liberation, we believe lived experience is just as credible as a source of knowledge as evidence based research. We believe in celebrating success and progress. So we don't look at giving up nicotine as being binary. Either you do it or you don't. Well, we celebrate progress. If you're making progress, that should be celebrated as well. And we use what I call social proof messaging. No fear based messaging. It's all about if they did it, you can do it too. That kind of thing. Be inspirational and aspirational for them. I believe that practice led research is just as valuable as evidence based. We rely heavily on evidence based, but practice led research is just as valuable. And what I mean by that is those of us who are doing this work and in the trenches working with these people, we know I believe we know better than some evidence based research because we're seeing the person, really as they are. And so, in terms of the principles behind nicotine liberation, we just have five principles: renew the mind, honor the body, feed the soul, guard the spirit, and raise your voice. And so, everything that we do, I measure it by these principles. Have I done this? Have I considered this? And so, these are the principles that undergird all of our messaging, the way we structure our classes and our groups. Nicotine liberation SMART goals. The other goals, but I look at it as significant, meaningful, aspirational, rewarding, and transformational. These are the goals that touch people's heart. And when you make people feel I think Maya Angelou, I can't quote it, but she basically says you make people feel good, they don't forget that. So these are the things that we should be looking at. Get out of the head and come down to the heart. And so, in terms of our practices, um, we have basically three that we use to build a relationship with the people that we serve, and that's music, metaphor, and a messenger. Music is emotional bonding, metaphor is cognitive reframing, and messenger is relational trust. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never met anybody who said, "Oh, I just hate music. I hate music." Now, they might hate a type of music, but music, most people like music, so we use music as a bridge or as a way to establish relationship or to readjust the person's when people are in stress when people are stressed their emotions can and their brain can be what we call dysregulated, and so music can calm you, music can put you in a happy space. And the other thing that music does for the people that we work with is some people are not verbal. Some people um, want to express themselves other ways, and so you can easily do it with music. I read an article by Monica Webb Harper, and basically she was saying that interventions that lack cultural resonance risk reinforcing inequities, while those that align with identity and lived experience can transform outcome. Most Black people like music. I'm not saying other people don't like music, but I know Black people, like music. So we use that. And then messenger and metaphor. And so we believe that facts inform, but music, metaphor, and story transform, and that's what we want. So the tools that we use is music. Um, Music speaks to the emotional parts of our story and soul that NRT and facts can't. And so if I'm trying to build a relationship in the groups that we offer, I incorporate music. And it's real easy to do. And one of the things I do is I look at the age range of the people in there, and then you simply choose music that might be from their generation, and you use that to have them to make them feel at ease and make it feel like a place that they want to be. We even wrote a song, Breaking Free from Nicotine. It's on YouTube. Go there and like it. And so, when I think about music, when I think about cessation as opposed to liberation, cessation is like one note, but liberation is like the entire song. So it's broader. It's more encompassing. And again, we use music. We use trusted messengers. Now, this is our JT, stands for Just the Truth. Uh, JT is not a real person. He's a character that we are going to consumer test to see how African Americans, if they, how he's accepted. And the idea behind JT is that, everybody knows somebody like a JT, that person in the neighborhood that he's the be all, end all. And so rather than like I'm doing this morning, doing all this talking, we talk through uh, JT as a trusted messenger. And then we have Queen Naya, who's a trusted messenger. JT is kind of like that hard hitting person, but Queen Naya, she's that sweet, uh, sensitive one. So we kind of balance it. Um, so let me go real fast, and then we also use these are not trusted messengers, but we feel that we need to put a face on who we are pushing back against. So this guy represents the tobacco industry. Says I got just what you need, and exploitation, and that's the hustle. And then we have manipulation. They didn't design it to please you, they designed it to own you. So sometimes when we're working with people, rather than say, you need to have a visual so that people can, see and also hear and think about what you've said. And we call that the hoax, manipulation, the hoax. We do cognitive reframing. Metaphors don't just explain, they shape how people act. And so, one of the things we do in our nicotine liberation approach is that we have them write a letter to Nick and Nikki, um, tell them what. And I love this one where it says, "I know you are wondering, am I interested in someone else?" And the answer is yes. There are two others. The first is better health, and the other is freedom from addiction. So one of our participants wrote this letter in one of our groups. And then another way that we use metaphors that I don't talk about quitting, I talk about leaving the toxic relationship. Everybody has had a bad relationship. And we had to break up, we had to leave them. And so I basically tell them that leaving a toxic relationship with nicotine, you're in a relationship with nicotine that's toxic, you can use the same strengths and whatever you did to get rid of that joke or that girl that, um, uh, that you're in a toxic relationship. So this is Nick in the doorway, and that's Keisha. She's headed for Freedom City. She's breaking up with him. And there's lots of research on the slides. I'm being told I'm running behind, but there are lots of research that supports this approach. We use gamification. Makes it fun. It makes it you know easy to understand the concepts that we're talking about, because when you're having fun, you let your guard down, and then it's more immersive in the experience. And so for the free and proud nicotine liberation framework, I'll say it's socio-political. We shift the focus from quitting to reclaiming identity, pride, and power. It's based in liberation psychology, and we provide individual and group support. And so I'll summarize by just saying, why am I advocating that we move beyond cessation? Because cessation isn't enough, it falls short for what African Americans have to deal with in order to give up nicotine. We reframe the journey from quitting to changing who you believe you are, such that you get to the place where you say, that's not me anymore, or I don't do that anymore. And how we do that is with music, metaphor, and story. We use that to bridge to the identity transformation. And so, what's next? Um, I believe at this point we are going to again have a reflection on. Is that right, Yolande? Are we going to reflection?
Yes, we're going to reflection.
Okay. And so at this point, you can, I think the question is, what's the reflection question? Okay, what insight from the keynote most resonated with you and why? And so I believe just like we did before, you can put your um, um, you can put your answer in the chat. I'm sorry. Or you can use, I think, are we going to put the paddle board back up?
Yes, we're going to put the board back up.
Okay.
You can leave
So,
your answer there, or you can also leave it in the chat. And as before, we're going to take a few folks off mute if you just wanted to just talk.
yeah, that works too. Any comments, observations, ideas?
In the chat, we have identifying what is important to them as something that resonated with folks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. It's all about them. It's you first have to build a relationship around what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. The first person language, and you can't just give them a patch. That's right. They need more than a patch.
We also have in the chat interventions that lack cultural resonance can reinforce inequities. That's good insight. And then also building on their identity and who they were before, Juliana mentioned in the chat.
Right. Now, if they started young like my husband did, they may not remember, and so then what you can do is help them just remember as far back as they can, and then give them help them to imagine who they could be without nicotine.
Dr. Beard, I wanted to say thank you so much. Your presentation was great. I'm back in tobacco after 20 years.
Oh.
And because my previous position with the county I work for in California was eliminated by the feds. And I'm appreciative to be back and just to have so many reminders in the way that you humanize the person who smokes, not identifying them as a smoker. And it's all just stuff I love rehearing again, but 20 years later, modernized. And I just think you did a wonderful job. I also wanted to say my dad went to Gannon in Erie
Oh, did he?
many years ago. He's much older than you.
Well, it was many years for me too.
Well, you're not 88 like him. So,
No.
but when you said it, I was like, what? I
Yeah.
don't know a lot of people that went to Gannon, but again, it was so wonderful from someone back, at square one. Thank you so much for sharing all your info.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I see here certain themes in music. What was the question about music? It's in the chat.
We have quite a few comments in the chat. So
Okay, all right.
yeah, I'll just share some additional ones. Candace is mentioning seeing tobacco users as people and not their problem and SMART goals. Candace mentioned as well in terms of takeaways, dealing with the mindset first. O'Brien mentioned the music, metaphor, and story, a great insight to connecting to the community. Shanita mentions the expansion on determinants to include harm, wealth, and political aspects for sure. Ask them what they wanted to be when they grew up is another thing that resonated with Macy. And also there are questions about whether we can share the slides. Dr. Beer, your slides in the information that we send afterwards. So I'll let you.
I believe the slides will be in there.
Okay, great. All right. And then in the Q&A, we have Renee is mentioning the idea of using music and storytelling speaks volumes with me in my programs. So just wanted to share that as well in terms of something else that resonated with folks.
Mm-hmm. It's a great tool for people who don't like to read or who have low reading skills. It's a way to um, reduce the cognitive load of having to to read, a lot. And so that's why we went that way, is to reduce the cognitive load and to also make it fun and a pleasure to be in the group with us.
Astrid states, when I talk to young people about the impact of tobacco and nicotine on their world, I go beyond the physical health impacts. Toxic debris tossed away as trash poisons our groundwater. Filters don't just disintegrate. Fish and birds are killed by ingesting cigarette filters and other toxic trash. Secondhand smoke kills. Secondhand smoke is bad for pets. Big tobacco is trying to lure you in. Be
Mm-hmm.
cool, be a rebel.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason for everyone.
Yeah. And even for the people who don't smoke, that think, well, I don't smoke, I don't know anybody who smokes, this is not my issue. It is, it's everybody's issue, because think about it this way. People who have tobacco-related diseases or challenges sometimes can't vote. You can't stand in line to vote. And civic duty or civic privileges affect us all. So it's not just using the product or knowing someone. If you think about it from a community or a cultural perspective, it affects us because we have people who can't vote because of tobacco-related conditions, like maybe emphysema, COPD. They're not as mobile.
Tracy cannot get onto the board now, but they liked the IBM theory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is there
Yeah.
anyone else who'd like to comment? Well, thank you so much for this reflection. Thank you all for sharing. And Dr. Beard, thank you for sharing this nicotine liberation framework with us all.
My pleasure.
And at this time, we're going to move into the Voices of Liberation segment. And we have special guests with us, Lachelle Uli.
It won't
And
go
Lori.
into the no, it won't microphone. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry.
Dr. Beard, would you like to facilitate this segment?
Is Lachelle on?
Yes.
Is Lachelle, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hi.
Good morning, Lachelle.
Good morning.
So this is Lachelle. Lachelle is one of my Learning Collaborative members. He is a skin health specialist working with men, and he has a story that he wants to share. I'm very proud of Lachelle. And so, Lachelle, at this time, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you. I just want to say thank you for having me and giving me this space to share. It's very nice to be here. I was taking a listen. I'm actually at my studio space working and just listening to everything. And there's a lot I have to say, but let me just give you a little bit of a backstory about me. I have been nicotine free for about 2 months, maybe 2.5 months after many on and off again trials with cigarettes. It has not been easy. And the brand I smoked was, I left off with Parliaments because I felt, it's funny how you think about cigarettes. It wasn't going to hurt me as much. It wasn't menthol. It wasn't killing. It wasn't like destroying my breathing. Because before that, I was smoking on and off Newports, and I started smoking cigarettes. Let me give you a little bit back history, because I'm in recovery from drugs and alcohol of 8 years. So I did a lot of smoking during the time of use, and then a little bit more after use. And cigarettes came up again for me, which I started in the past 3 years because I opened my own business. So when we talk about cultural things and identification, and these things came up for me. My stresses came up for me when I opened my own business, which I'm sitting in right now, with no understanding how to navigate through this business. And I remember it distinctly. October 23rd, I picked up a cigarette 3 years ago because it was post-pandemic, and I got delayed, sort of that delayed reaction that everybody had gotten during pandemic, where I was freaking out about money, about how to earn, how to grow my business. And then a lot of historical familial stuff started to come up, right? That I had to look at, because in order to grow and go, that stuff met me where I was at, and I didn't know how to get rid of it. So what I did was what my family would do. We was, smoking cigarettes, and it it felt like it served a purpose. And I'll say this really quickly because it really speaks to what can be put in place. When I was smoking cigarettes, I felt like I was taking a breath. And I remember one day, after like months of smoking, I was like outside, and I was smoking private, by the way. So that speaks to a whole bunch, another thing. I said, "Oh, you're actually breathing," because my life had been bracing myself. I've always been in survival mode. That's where I come from. I come from a place that has always enabled me, always had me in survival mode. Family who's always sort of said, this is where you need to be. Community, which mimicked and mirrored that as well, right? So that's what kept me smoking in these past 3 years. And like I said, I've been on and off. I tried to stop. And I want to I feel like I have my music on for work. So let me turn this down because I really don't want to. Okay. So I started, like I said, so that's what kept me going. I was doing it for 3 years on and off. And and what kept me sort of in a good space was I did have some resources. Like I said, I'm in the recovery community. I am really part of the AANA community. We have fellows and we have sponsors. We have what we call the 12 steps. And I'm only bringing this up because it's important to what the Nicotine Liberation Summit is wanting to do and trying to do. And I think it's important to share the things that have helped me that I know that in this community is needed, especially when you talk about representation. I've been in the recovery community for 8 years, and it's mixed. It's different people from different walks of life, different ethnic backgrounds. But there was a time in that space when I was trying to stop smoking cigarettes. Now I'm off the drugs and off the alcohol, and now I'm just living life and what we call emotional sobriety, right? Because that's when you have to now deal and clean up the emotional baggage, the spiritual baggage, the mental baggage. And there was a lot of people who didn't look like me. There were some relatable stories for sure that I can grab onto and that I can look at as sort of a doorway out. But the days and the times when I was able to talk to other Black men and women who had been through what I've been through, who understood the nuances of the conditioning, of the reasoning, of the intentionality of why I do what I do, and watch some of them who have made it past certain situations in life. That to me was monumentally helpful to me, but I'll keep going here. So why I quit? My family has heart disease. I mean, my aunt just had an open bypass surgery 2 years ago from smoking Newports all her life. I'm scared. I had an uncle who died from diabetes. He didn't want to stop smoking. I have a family member's sister who still smokes. I am definitely afraid to hurt myself any more than I have been already with cigarettes. So I wanted to quit. Plus, mentally and emotionally, it was no different than me having a drug. I was waking up with cloudiness, hangovers. I was disorientated. My memory was foggy. I was not clear. I was not motivated. I was so lethargic. And I have a business to run. And one thing about me, and I'm sure if anybody who's a business owner, anybody who just wants more for themselves, I'm too far in the water to turn back now. So my ambition and my perseverance kept me pushing. And I said, these cigarettes have got to stop because they're destroying me. I was literally mentally confused a few months ago. I was so disoriented and I was isolated. I was literally going home, doing my work stuff, pushing, overworking, overextending myself, going home, smoking in secret and in private, okay, staying home in my house by myself. This had been going on for a better part of 3 years. Predominantly, that was my relationship. My relationship was with cigarettes. That was the most committed relationship that I had, besides the stress. And we'll get to that in a minute. Okay. So, and the challenges I would say I'm still working on overcoming is just not being afraid to ask for the help that I need, not when I need it. I'll give you a better, for instance, yesterday, I spoke to Dr. Beard yesterday and I had a morning. It's been 2 months. This is usually when I will pick right back up because all the emotional things that I've been suppressing from smoking cigarettes hit hard on Sunday and harder yesterday morning. The fear of not earning, the fear of how to grow my business, the fear of me learning how to do self-care. Now, understand what I just said. I am practicing self-care, not just theoretically understanding it. The fear of letting go of what no longer works for me and not having someone to understand that in a very nuanced way. Like I said, I am in recovery and I do have people I can talk to. But when I talked to Dr. Beer yesterday and another young woman, she's a girlfriend of mine who's not a cigarette smoker, Black woman who I've known since I was a child, but just having her understand me, the conditioning of me as a Black man, and her understanding that, just hearing me out felt good. So I'm going to say, I wrote this down because I thought that was very important when I was hearing about the liberation health, the method piece, understanding the cultural, psychological, economical aspects of our underlying condition. Let me tell you something. It's one thing to go to a class and it's great to have it, but it's about reinforcement and practice. And it's about community support, and a community that has went through what you've went through and going through what you're going through in terms of how you're healing. And having those systems put into place. I'm not going to speak for everyone on this call who is African American, but I'll say to people who are not in recovery, I understand that most of us don't have a place to go to. Most of us don't even understand what it is that we're feeling and why we're feeling what we're feeling. And if you're my age, I'm 49 years old and older, that was something that wasn't even looked at. You just picked yourself up by the bootstraps and you get on and you dealt with and coped with whatever you needed. And that was drink and that was cigarettes. My family were huge cigarette smokers. That was the least of their problems. Oh, I'm not drinking anymore. That is a slow killer. It was killing me. It was killing me. So I was really in a headspace yesterday. And please tell me when I have 5 minutes. I want to respect the time. I was really in a headspace yesterday because I was feeling the fear. I was feeling overwhelmed. But more importantly, I had to surrender. And because I was born and raised in the church, Black church, Baptist church, lean on God. But my God has expanded since I've gotten in recovery. So the God that I grew up with is not really, and only people I could talk to is a Dr. Beard, my girlfriend Barbara, women like I could see Dr. Vaughn in here. Like I can know who understand that. Now, have you been through what I've been through with the cigarette withdrawals and the coping mechanisms you put in place? Because now I want to have a more thorough conversation. So what I'm advocating for in this moment is I pray that what you're doing here with the smoking liberation expands itself. It's so needed. It is so needed mentally and emotionally. We're not even aware of what we need. And then when we find out what we need and why we do the things that we do, and then they are removed, i.e. the cigarettes is moved out of the way, then we have to do this thing we call life. And some days we're 10 steps ahead and some days we're 2 steps behind, and it just, it's a spiral. And I'm grateful that I met Dr. Beard. I am in skin health. I am an esthetician. I do work with people with oncology. But this right here is important to me because I've seen it. That was another reason why I stopped too. I was really afraid because it depletes your nutrients. I'm already a thin build guy. Within 2 months, if I start smoking cigarettes, my face is darker. And I'm a lot thinner. Just nutrients depleted. And you can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it. And I can't stand it. Breath. Hold on. I forgot I want to say something else. So the challenges I'm overcoming is just moving out of my way and asking for the help and looking for places where I can continue to practice and get the tools and get the understanding that I need and get the community. And yes, transparently, people who look like me who've been through it. Lori, I can hear you. Hi, Lori. Oh, sorry. I can hear you. Okay, no problem. it's important to me now as a Black man to find people who look like me, who understand who is going through this. I've watched my family now. I have an aunt who just went through open heart surgery, and she looks at me in awe. She said, Lachelle, I wish that we had something like that here. Even in recovery, it's not looked at as something, it's not a big community in comparison because it's legal. It doesn't, smoking cigarettes doesn't, it's not like drinking. It doesn't crash cars. It doesn't have you crash cars, right? Or tear your house down and not pay bills. But what it does, it's a slow burn. And it's really about understanding some of the psychological things that cause you to smoke. I smoked. It was a comforting thing. I'm a single man living in LA. My family's in New Jersey, you know, learning how to run a business. Nobody taught me about finances. Nobody taught me about, you know, structural paperwork to be an LLC. Nobody, I've always worked for people all my life. This is something that we understand in our community because I've always been a worker, right? And then now I'm in Beverly Hills, and then I have some sense of, Vaughn, I'm sorry. Are you, oh, one more minute. Okay. I'm so glad I saw that. I have some sense of myself now, and I believe in myself now. Now I have to understand how to move through that belief. I need Dr. Vaughn and Dr. Karen and Yolande and Lori, and I need those women and men to help me understanding the nuances of where I came from. So it's important. Representation is important, and having community based around this specific thing with the coping skills are in place is something that is really needed. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm open for questions. Any questions, or someone going to monitor? Do I look in the chat for them?
Thank you, Lachelle. There's no questions so far.
Okay, no problem.
But, what you said something and I want to add to it. You said, we are not aware of what we need. And I'm going to add to that, till we get it. We are not aware of what we need until we receive even just a bit of it.
And then we have to learn how to accept it and live with that newness of it. That needs to be taught too, because people don't really talk about healing. It doesn't always feel good. Mm-hmm. Because you're always used to the opposite. I'm used to a default system of smoking cigarettes, drinking, drugging, self-negativing. That's what I'm used to. That feels comforting to me. The new stuff is just as uncomfortable. And now I need someone to help me navigate through that as well before I pick up again. I'll tell you this, Yolande, I was the other day, now yesterday I was in a bad position, but Friday I was so elated. This is what cigarettes do to you when you're off of them. I was dancing in the house because I had so much energy and I was so grateful. I didn't know what to do with that energy. Navigate me through that energy. Go smoke a cigarette. That's what I use.
That clean energy.
That clean energy, like, yeah. Oh my God, things are going good. I'm in faith. You know what? I don't know how to celebrate. I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette because that's where my nervous energy goes, or good energy goes. So, yeah.
I'm just gonna read some of the comments. Brad
Sure.
Wellens, great testimony. Thank you for sharing, Lachelle. Powerful. Macy, thank you. I'm bawling. Twyla, amen. Bless you and thank you for your transparency. Shanita, amen. Camille, I second that. Thank you for your honesty. Brennan Moss, man, truly appreciate you sharing your journey. My question is, how have you prioritized your continuation of learning and healing as you are on the path and years into your journey?
Oh, this is easy. I have a team of people. I got a therapist that I see every Thursday. I got men and women in recovery that I've acquired over the years. I have an aunt who is faith-based woman. I have my best friend, Barbara, who I just mentioned. I could talk to Dr. Beard. I am communitied up because I seek it though. So it's something that I constantly seek. And I see, do you find yourself applying the 12 steps in the journey? Yes, because the 12 steps is just steps to help you move out of your way to let God in. That's all that is. So I have to go into those moments when my head starts taking me to a place where I want to go use. Yesterday, I wanted to pick up a cigarette so bad, y'all. And I was so proud of myself because I had a girlfriend on the phone who said to me, wait a minute, you're not in gratitude. Give yourself grace. Celebrate that you have not picked up smoking cigarettes in 2 months and that you've made it this far. That's why you're probably freaking out. I didn't know how to celebrate myself. So someone helped me, reminded me. So I have people in my community and who understand this particular nuance of use.
And so you are living in liberation. You're walking through it.
And it's this part right now is tough, but something keeps saying, just keep going. Because I'm almost on the other side of this, because my nervous system was not good yesterday. And that's what I want to give to any ex-smokers or smokers here. It's pain is weakness with leaving the body. And I know because I have this community and I seek it, it's the other side of this is going to be good. So lean into this, I want to say, program that the Nicotine Liberation Summit is trying to bring forth. We need it. Our community needs it.
Thank you, Lachelle.
You're welcome.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
And Delon, if I could just say one thing, Lachelle has really made my point about cessation. If we had just focused on the behavior of using the product, I don't think he would be free today, because he would still have free of nicotine. He would still have all those other issues going on that were not addressed. So again, I think it's not cessation, it's looking at the whole person and what's going on. You don't exactly have to be a counselor, but you have to be sensitive to what's going on in their world.
I agreed. It's sensitive to the particular person. Thank you again.
Thank you. And at this time,
So
we'd
good
like
to
to welcome Miss Lori Marion to
Hi.
share her journey.
Okay, Lori, I'm going to introduce you. Lori is a grandmother, a proud grandmother of two. She told me that she loves music, and I think you said movies. And I've known Lori probably for about 4 years, and I've kind of witnessed her growth. And so I invited her here today to just kind of share her testimony of how she has made the journey. So it's all you, Lori.
Okay. Do I have to talk that long? I'm not good at that long. But my journey is I grew up as a teenager smoking. Everybody smoked in my generation. And we had older cousins and brothers, and they all smoked cigarettes. So I was 12 years old when I picked up my first cigarette. My mother caught me. I had to chew this pack of cigarettes. She thought that would stop me. It did for a minute, but then I still continued to smoke cigarettes, and I smoked for many, many years. So I haven't been smoking now for a couple of years. When I first tried to stop smoking, I tried to seek help, but they didn't offer any help. I was afraid to do the patches because I've heard a lot of bad news about people getting sick behind those patches. So I just decided to just stop smoking. Just don't pick up a cigarette anymore. But when I did that, I picked up an eating habit, and I gained a lot of weight doing that. And so it's like what's his name that went off? it's the shell. I mean, not the shell, but the gentleman that just went off, he spoke on nervousness. It has a lot to do with nervousness, uneasiness, boredom, or just fitting in with the crowd. And I smoked Newports. First, I started off with, I don't know, with Salem. They used to have Salem cigarettes, Benson and Hedges. Um, they had what else did I smoke? Marlboro before that was Newport. When Newports came out, that was the trend. We were in junior high school smoking Newport. I think it was a new um, it came out because Salem were the popular cigarettes, the menthol cigarettes, and then the Newports came out, and then it just took over. Uh, the especially the African American generation of people. They that was our thing. Newports. Everywhere you went, they didn't have a whole two or three shelves of any other brand. They had Newports, and they had them in the machines, so we can easily get into the machines, buy cigarettes in the stores before they carded you. We could go buy cigarettes, in the store. They didn't care or ask you any questions. They just sold them to you. So it was easier to smoke cigarettes at that time. So hoping with not smoking now, I don't be around people that smoke. So it makes it a little easier because when you hang out with the environment, you do what the environment does. Is what I'm kind of saying. You want to fit in, and um, that's kind of what I did, picked it up. Oh, and I quit a couple of times. Then it didn't, it wasn't, I picked it right back up again because of like nothing to do or always having to have something in my hand or something in my mouth. And uh, I just got tired of the smell in my clothes. I got tired of the smell in my sheets in the bed. And I got tired of the nicotine taste. I would kiss my husband, and he tasted like cigarettes. So after that, I just dropped it and I left it alone. So I've been good for about 4 years, about 5 years, about 3 or 4 years now. And I don't know what else to say, how to speak on it. Oh yeah, it was hard to quit. It was really hard to quit. It wasn't easy. I mean, I just, because you say, "Oh, I'm not gonna smoke," and then you would sit up there and you say, "Oh, I'll just take a hit of the cigarette this day, and I won't smoke no more. I'll put the cigarette out and save it, and just smoke one cigarette a day." But no, you end up going to the store buying more cigarettes, another pack of cigarettes. So you can't play with smoking cigarettes like a person getting off of drugs. Either you're gonna have to have some kind of form of help, or you just gotta stop. And Sean, I don't remember his name, and forgive me for not remembering, but uh, I didn't have a community of help, for help because everybody smoked. Everybody that I was surrounded with smoked, I wasn't around people. My friend, when she didn't smoke, "Oh, get away from me with that cigarette stuff." So that was the kind of response that I had, so it wasn't like easy. It was put down from from people that did not smoke. So you didn't care how they felt. You just did it anyway until I smelt it myself and tasted it on my husband. And it was horrible. And I didn't know this is what I was, you know, putting out. And that's my story.
Thank you, Lori. That was a wonderful story. It sounds like you found your reason to stop. I don't think you were ever smoking to manage negative um, feelings or thoughts. You were probably just trying to be with the crowd. You mentioned, starting back when you were a teenager. And I find that for people who smoke and they're not doing it to manage negative emotions. It is easier, it's not easy, but it's easier to give it up. And
No, I did it behind nervous situations and not having my way, and uh I smoke behind those reasons too. You know, when you end up smoking a cigarette, whatever reason, you might want a cigarette to smoke before you wake when you wake up in the morning. Oh, that's when cigarette tastes at its best. When you first woke up, before you had your coffee, before you go to the bathroom, before you wash your face, everything, brush your teeth. Cigarette was it tasted its best. Then you had to have a cigarette when you drunk your coffee, or you had to have a cigarette in conversation. So yeah, and then when I get upset or or something didn't go my way, I go outside and light this the lighter and
so
smoke a
what do you do now when you get upset? What do you do now?
well, you know what? I turn my life over to Christ now. So I have a lot of friends that don't smoke. And what I do when I get upset is I just ramp and rage and then get over it, you know. So that's what I do. I mean, and I don't want to pick up the eating habit either because I picked up a lot of weight, and when you're big, it's not comfortable. But both of them that are a detriment to your health. But I was big, and I mean, when I laid down to one side, everything went there with me. You know. Uh, uh, I know I was able to get some of that weight off of me, and I'm trying not to pick it back up again because there's still a nervous calm about me. You know what I mean? There's still
Well,
things.
we all get nervous, but we
I
don't
mean,
all pick up cigarettes.
right. I just don't pick the cigarette up, so, and,
Yeah.
they don't, you gotta, menthol. I don't like none menthol. So you gotta go somewhere undercover to buy menthol cigarettes. They have people that sell the menthol cigarettes undercover and, you're not trying to pay that price. Cigarettes have gotten very expensive now. So that's another reason, I can't see myself spending $20 on a pack of cigarettes. When I started, they were like $1.25 a pack. You know what I mean? So you pay $5 for a whole carton of cigarettes, and you can smoke and you're in heaven. And at that time, we were stacking the cartons up 2 and 3 boxes at a time. And and then that also, the more cigarettes you have, the more you smoke. You know that so I'm just glad that it didn't. It killed my mother, and I still smoke cigarettes. So that's a hard habit to quit. That's why I just dropped it. And I just thank God that I was able to do that, after smoking many, many, many years.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Do we have any questions for Lori?
Not seeing any questions in the chat, just some very affirming comments. So thanks for sharing. Glad you're free now.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your many years of being tobacco free. I'm proud of you. It's hard to quit. Go you. So lots of positive affirmations for you, Lori.
Thank you.
Michelle as well.
Mm-hmm. Lori's a lot of fun. I like hanging out with her.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Beard. And, I'm really glad to meet Dr. Beard too, because, she played a positive, uh, 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 what am I trying to say? Place in my life because, she kind of kept me aware. And with these meetings and these study groups and things that we're doing, it kind of keeps me on my toes that it's not it's something that we don't want in our community anymore. They have more advertising for cigarettes and alcohol in our community. They just like the African American race, they shopping. When it comes to buying clothes and stuff, they use us for that because we're more, we fall for it. It's the word I'm saying. The alcohol is in our community more. Like the cigarettes, and it's getting to our young people now. They call it vaping. And these young people are getting more hooked on this vaping and smoking and think it's glamorous. None of it's glamorous. It kills us. It just messes with your health. It's not, the look when you're a teenager, it might make you think you're all cool and whatever, but it really isn't. And still today, I still struggle, I still struggle. I'd be wanting to pick up a cigarette. I tell you, I would rather have picked up a cigarette than eating, you know? But I'm just conquering both of them, and I just thank God for that.
Well, thank you, Lori. Thank you for
You're welcome, Dr.
sharing your
Beard.
story and being here with us in this space today. And I continue to look forward to good things from you.
Thank you. Thank you. And you look nice. The color looks really nice on you.
Oh, well, thank you. You act surprised.
Huh?
You act surprised. No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm not. No, I just, I'm always on the phone
Yeah.
doing this, but
Yeah.
yes.
All right.
Okay.
So if we don't have any, do we have questions or any other comments or? All right, Miss Lori.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Beard
Catch you on the
and the
backside.
panel. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I can go now?
Yes, you can go,
Okay,
Lori.
thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lori. So our Voices of Liberation segment concludes the first portion of our summit. And when we return, we are going to get a live counseling session facilitated by Charles Debness. So stay tuned and we will see you in 15 minutes.